In the shadows of a city chasing progress, one man was left behind, forgotten by the nation he once served. But when power turned corrupt and silence became violence, the invisible became unstoppable. This is not just a story about justice. It's about a war hero rising from the alleyways of East Atlanta to expose a system built on silence. Stay with us. What you're about to hear will change how you see everything. In the gentrifying heart of East Atlanta, where old brick meets new glass and condos rise like weeds from cracked sidewalks, no one paid much attention to the man on the corner. He sat silently outside the Glenwood bus depot, wrapped in layers of clothing, eyes half closed behind thick lashes of dread and ash. Most thought he was just another forgotten soul, maybe mentally ill, definitely homeless. They were wrong. His name was Elijah Cole. No one knew that name anymore, not in this city. But once, overseas, it was whispered like myth. Master Sergeant Elijah Cole, sniper, strategist, ghost in the night, the kind of soldier generals trusted when they couldn't trust satellites. Then came the shrapnel, then the silence, then America forgot him. That night was colder than most, the kind of cold that strips the city of noise. Officers Bradley Maddox and Carter Langston were two men who liked the silence. It made it easier to do what they did best: dominate. And tonight, they were looking for someone to remind who was in charge. They spotted Elijah slumped near a burned-out dumpster. No sign, no voice, no confrontation, just stillness. That offended Bradley. He demanded ID. Elijah didn't respond. Carter shifted uncomfortably, but didn't intervene. The next 5 minutes would change everything. The beating wasn't messy. It was efficient. 2 flashlights, 1 baton. No witnesses except for a flicker of movement in the alley, unseen by the cops. Elijah didn't cry out. He didn't resist. But when they walked away, laughing under their breath, they didn't know that the man they left bleeding had once crawled across a minefield to save a medic. They didn't know who he could still call, lying in the dark. Elijah stared at the cloudy sky. His leg throbbed. His ribs cracked when he breathed. But he didn't reach for help, not yet. He waited. Then, with trembling fingers, he pulled out a dusty flip phone and pressed a number burned into muscle memory. General Harrington speaking. Sir. Elijah rasped. It happened again. The silence that followed was short, but lethal. Stay alive. I'll handle the rest. Across town, Officer Kyle Mills sat alone at his desk, a rookie. Clean uniform, unblemished conscience. He had started noticing the patterns, the reports that vanished, the shifts that coincided with spikes in missing transient complaints. Tonight, he saw Bradley return early, blood on his sleeves. The excuse slipped on ice. Mills didn't believe him. He pulled up a report from 2 months prior. A homeless man, injured near the same depot. No ID. Case closed. He ran the fingerprints through a database. What returned froze his blood. Elijah D. Cole, Master Sergeant, Silver Star, 3 tours. Cleared for Tier 1 operations. Now flagged as missing veteran. He printed the file and stared at the photo. It was the same man. Same eyes. Same quiet. The next morning, Mills drove to the depot. Elijah was gone. But Frank, another vet with trembling hands and Parkinson's, sat on a milk crate nearby. Mills knelt down and asked if he'd seen anything. Frank didn't lie. He talked about Bradley, about the camp clearings, about how the homeless, mostly veterans, were being forced out to make way for beautification zones. The money came from a redevelopment project backed by Councilman Roger Wallace. Frank even pointed at the camera on the pole across the alley. That night, Elijah didn't run. He limped into the church basement, 2 blocks from the depot. Inside were 6 other veterans, men and women who knew pain, who carried the same invisible weight. Word had spread. This time, Elijah wouldn't fade away. He had fought for a country that turned its back on him. Now, He would fight for the people it forgot. The next assault came at the clinic, broad daylight. Bradley and Carter dragged him out by the back exit before he could finish filling out his medical paperwork. They were faster this time, angrier. He knew too much now. But someone was watching. A nurse called it in, and Elijah, through swollen lips, whispered into a payphone. 2 days later, a woman in a gray suit arrived at the East Precinct. Colonel Danielle Davis, now part of a military intelligence task force with FBI partnership. She didn't wear medals. She wore a badge. Her team began covert operations immediately. Meetings were bugged. Financial trails followed. Councilman Wallace's shell companies linked back to Bradley's bank account. A coffee shop used for meetings between developers and officers was revealed to be a laundering point. Mills, meanwhile, chose a side. He turned over everything: audio clips, copies of internal memos, body cam footage. Carter forgot to delete. And when Carter realized the tide had turned, he flipped. What followed was rapid and clean, arrest warrants sealed. One Thursday evening, a coordinated strike took down 13 officers, 4 city employees, and 2 developers live. As the mayor gave a speech on public trust, but Bradley was missing. He had gone off the grid, no phone, no trace. Until 3 nights later, Elijah waited on the roof of a parking structure. He knew Bradley would come for him. Bullies don't stop unless forced. Bradley arrived just before midnight, gun in hand, face wild with desperation. "You think they'll believe you," he shouted. "You're nothing. You live in trash." Elijah didn't argue. He moved. It took 8 seconds, gun gone, Bradley on the ground. And then came the flood FBI agents from all sides. Sirens echoing through the concrete like Judgment Day. Bradley screamed as they dragged him away. Elijah didn't speak. The trial was swift. With Carter's testimony and Mills on the stand, the jury delivered unanimous guilty verdicts. The nation watched as the news cycle changed its tone from transient assaulted to war hero, beaten by corrupt cops and gentrification scheme. General Harrington stood beside Elijah the day of sentencing. "You didn't need a rifle," he said quietly. "You needed a voice," Elijah nodded. "And someone to listen." He declined the military reinstatement offer. Instead, he accepted a job as a VA outreach coordinator in Atlanta. Not a headline position, not flashy, but real. In the final scene, Elijah walked beside Frank, helping him onto a new VA shuttle headed to permanent housing. Around them, a half-dozen other vets waited in line, each carrying not just bags, but hope. From a bench nearby, Mills watched, still in uniform, but no longer blind. Justice. Elijah knew, wasn't loud. It wasn't always quick. But when it came, it didn't forget. And neither did he.